never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of emotion. Got my statement, and I'm reading it slow so I can understand it fully. Appreciate my standing, go out of this world and right on time. Oh, never in my life have I seen the sky light up like this. I'm far away from Earth and I wanna know if you exist. Mission control, do you read me? Send me my coordinates lately. Mission control, am I drifting? Tie me to someone who will love me, yeah. Wait, I think I'll last a bit longer. Find another reason to breathe.
Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family a part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. My big question is, why are so many people acting like they're surprised? Because honestly, I'm surprised that they're surprised. I'm shocked that they're shocked. We'll talk about that coming up here in a few minutes. But first, I want to talk about MITB from yesterday, which of course is Money in the Bank. Or like the old country song says, you look better than Money in the Bank. I have not seen it in its entirety yet. I did watch the first 3 matches live before I left to go to Southern Fried Championship Wrestling, which we'll talk about that coming up later on in the week. But Money in the Bank yesterday, pre-show of course was 2 o'clock, and the main show kicked off at 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon. The first match was the men's Money in the Bank, and Damian Priest defeated LA Knight, Ricochet, Butch, Logan Paul, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Santos Escobar to become the new men's Money in the Bank holder. Second match, we saw Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez defeat Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey to become the new women's tag team champions due to the fact that Shayna Baszler turned on Ronda Rousey. And then up next, we had the Intercontinental Championship on the line as Gunther defended against Matt Riddle. And after the match, Drew McIntyre returned. So I guess they're now fixing to have a feud between Gunther and Drew McIntyre. Cody Rhodes beat Dominic Mysterio. Io Sky beat Bayley, Becky Lynch, Trish Stratus, Zelina Vega, and Zoe Stark to become the women's Money in the Bank holder. In the semi-main event of the evening, Seth freaking Rollins defeated Finn Balor to retain the World Heavyweight Championship. And in the main event, the Usos defeated Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. Anytime I watch a pay-per-view like yesterday or the ones they have in Saudi Arabia, it makes me jealous of the fan support, because if you watch the shows they do, whether it's London, England, Saudi Arabia, wherever it is in other countries, the fans go absolutely crazy, and they're loud from start to finish. They're on their feet, they're chanting, and then there's so many times they have the premium live events here in America somewhere, and half the show the crowd just sits and does nothing. I wish American fans would get behind it like the English fans or like the Saudi fans, because I miss the days of the American fans being that hardcore into wrestling. I don't know if we're just spoiled or what the reason is, but any thoughts on the Money in the Bank, please feel free to let me know. And I want to talk about something that happened this past Friday, and supposedly it's still going on. And the reason why I bring it up is because it is sports related, and I hate to see anybody lose their job. But my question is, why are people surprised? First, I'll give you some of the names, and then I'll try to explain to you why I don't understand why people are surprised it happened. But supposedly ESPN laid off 20 on-air personalities. There's 13 or 14 that have been named so far, so I'm not sure if it's still going on or if the rest of them just didn't say anything, because ESPN does not release the names of the people that they fire, but usually most of the time the people that get fired tell you they got fired. But so far we're about 6 or 7 short, so I'm not sure if there's a few that are still left to be determined, or if the few that have not said anything just ain't going to say anything. But we have LaFonso Ellis, June Lee, David Pollock, Jeff Van Gundy, Keyshawn Johnson, Jason Williams, or as they call him, J. Will, Max Kellerman, Steve Young, Susie Colbert, Jordan Cornette, Jalen Rose, Todd McShay, Ashley Brewer, and Neil Everett. Now, I don't understand why people are surprised, because I've been saying for 2 years here on this channel, but those that know me know I've been saying it for about 5 years in real life off of camera, that ESPN is a brainwashing propaganda network. They tell you what they want you to believe. They tell you what they're trying to feed you, not what they really believe. And if you believe anything that anybody on that network says, you're out of your mind. They're all buffoons. They're all idiots. And more people are starting to realize that. And for about the last 5 or 6 years, if you look at TV ratings, every TV show they have, their ratings have consistently gone down on a week-by-week, month-by-month, year-by-year basis since about 2017. So when your network starts losing money, you have no other choice but to let people go. And on top of that, for some stupid reason, they just went out and gave Pat McAfee a 5-year deal for, I want to say, $75 or $80 million. So you're paying this guy $15 or $16 million a year, which tells you that a lot of other people are going to be let go. Now, if you notice, you didn't see any play-by-play people get fired, and I don't know that you will, because if you're going to carry games, you have to have people calling the games. But a lot of the people that are in studio, whether it's pre-game, post-game, during the week, whatever, are usually the ones that are in trouble. And the main reason why David Pollock got fired was because of Pat McAfee. You're not going to give Pat McAfee a deal for $16, $17 million a year and not feature him on College Game Day. So now Pat McAfee's pretty much going to take David Pollock's spot on College Game Day. But David Pollock was the only one, at least so far, that's been from the college football side. If you want to call Jordan Cornette that, you can, but Jordan Cornette was a host on the ACC network, but he didn't just do college football, but he did mainly do college football for the ACC network. But David Pollock was the only one that's prominently college football based. All the rest of them are basketball, baseball, in studio, or radio. With a few of them, me personally, I could see the writing on the wall. Like, for instance, Keyshawn Johnson, Jason Williams, and Max Kellerman, all three of them's radio show got taken off the air. That right there should have told all three of them they're in trouble. But not only that, about 3 months ago, I read an article that Jason Williams did, and he said, working for ESPN is hard because there's so many things that they make you say that you're not allowed to be yourself. So when you start bashing the company you work for, you're going to get fired. Now, I'm glad he said that because he's telling people, he's telling everybody, don't believe what anybody on this network says. So I'm glad he said it, but when you work for a company and you start bashing the company, you're in trouble. And then Max Kellerman worked with that buffoon, or as I call him, clown, Stephen A. Smith on First Take. And Stephen A. Smith kicked him off that show. And I knew right then, okay, in a year or so, Max is going to be out the door. So to me, his writing was on the wall. Susie Colbert made like $25 million a year, and all she did was the NFL shows. So that should have told you next time they had a firing freeze, she was going to be in trouble. And then with Todd McShay, they hired Todd McShay to eventually, in the future, take the place of Mel Kiper Jr. with the NFL draft stuff. The only problem is Todd McShay's an absolute idiot. And as many years as he's been there, as much background work as he claims he does, as much video as he claims he watches, he still sucks at doing the NFL draft. So I think ESPN figured out, you know what? If we hired this guy to take the place of Mel Kiper Jr. and he sucks, we need to go ahead and get rid of this guy because his main job was the NFL draft, and he sucked at it. But I will say that with Keyshawn Johnson and Steve Young and Susie Colbert all getting fired, ESPN's NFL coverage is going to look extremely different next year because Susie Colbert was the in-studio host, and now she's gone. So I have no idea what they're going to do with the NFL coverage. I guess we'll find out here in right at 2 months because the NFL season is right around the corner. But my question was, why are people surprised? And I still wonder that because the network's been losing money like crazy for 3 or 4 years. So common sense should tell you if you're losing money like you are and you continue losing money because you continue to put out trashy TV stuff and trashy radio stuff, obviously you're going to have to let people go. That's common sense. So if that's common sense, then why are people surprised when they let people go? To me, it should kind of be obvious. When you're a multi-billion-dollar company and you're not making that money, you're going to have to fire people. You don't have a choice. Now, why they hired Pat McAfee, I don't know. Because Pat McAfee is okay, but he's okay for about 30 minutes. After that, I've had enough of Pat McAfee. But the problem is, supposedly they're going to give him his own TV show. But the problem is, people know Pat McAfee is a football player and a football guy. That's what he does. If you put him on TV and he's talking anything besides football, people aren't going to take him serious. And I say that because if you have watched ESPN for a long time, you know that when Stephen A. Smith originally got hired by them, he only taught the NBA. He was an NBA guy. So to this day, if anybody puts it on First Take and he's talking baseball or football, people scoff at it because they know he's the basketball guy. Years ago, there was a guy named Chris Broussard that worked for ESPN that only taught NBA. Now he works for Fox Sports 1, and you hear him talking other sports. He doesn't sound right because he was hired as a basketball guy. And now that we know Pat McAfee's a football guy, if his TV show comes on every day and he's talking hockey, baseball, basketball, whatever, everybody watching is going to say, dude, you're crazy. You don't know. You're a football guy. Right or wrong, that's what you think. When you see somebody that's always talking one sport all the time and all they talk is that one sport, and all of a sudden they're not talking that sport, it just doesn't sound right to you, and it's hard to take them seriously because you know that sport they're talking about is not what they were originally hired to talk about. Any thoughts on this? Please feel free to let me know. Homes for Our Troops is a publicly funded 501c nonprofit organization that builds and donates specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post 9/11 veterans. Since the 2004 inception, nearly 90 cents of every dollar spent has gone directly to our program services for veterans. Visit at hfotusa.org. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. Why did the pony ask for a glass of water? Because it was a little hoarse. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.